Thank you. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, and this is the first meeting of the month for the hearing officer of the City of Tempe. My name is Vanessa McDonald, and I am the hearing officer, so I'll be conducting this evening's hearing. I'm going to read a few items into the record, and then we can jump right into our agenda. The City of Tempe hearing officer is authorized by Arizona revised statutes and the City of Tempe zoning and development code. The hearing officer has the duty to carry out both the provisions and the intent of the zoning and development code and Tempe city code. The hearing officer is granted the authority to conduct public hearings to decide upon the abatement of code violations occurring on properties within the city. Code violations include, but aren't limited to, deteriorated landscaping, inoperable vehicles, deteriorated structures, storage of junk or refuse, or deteriorated swimming pools. Abatement actions are brought before the hearing officer by the city's Code Compliance Division, typically after numerous attempts at contacting the property owner to obtain voluntary compliance with the city code. The hearing officer may issue an order directing the owner, occupant, rental agent, property manager, or other responsible person to abate a code violation, or the hearing officer may authorize the city to abate the condition giving rise to that violation. The cost of any abatement is the responsibility of the owner of the property where the violation occurred and may be collected as an assessment against the property found to be in violation. On today's agenda, we have 3 items. We have a set of minutes from January 4th, 2022, and we have 2 separate property abatements. Any property owner who is aggrieved by a decision of the hearing officer may file an appeal within 14 calendar days after the hearing officer has made a decision. As such, the deadline for appealing any decision rendered today is 3 p.m. on March 15th, 2022. Abatement appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment, after which they may also be appealed to the Superior Court. The property owner has 14 days to either file an appeal, as I just mentioned, or bring the property into code compliance. If neither of these things happen by this date, the property will be abated by the city. Joining me this afternoon from Community Development are Cassidy Hernandez. Welcome, Cassidy. This is your first hearing with the city, and also Drew Yoakum. That takes us to the first item on our agenda this afternoon. As I previously mentioned, we have a set of minutes from January 4th, 2022. I had a chance to review those minutes in the packet that I was given from the city, and I believe they accurately reflect what took place at that hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and approve the minutes of January 4th, 2022. Agenda item number 2 is an abatement of public nuisance items at the Moses property. This property is located at 530 West 19th Street. The applicant is the City of Tempe Code Compliance, I believe represented this afternoon by Code Inspector Michelle Van Etten. Ms. Van Etten, are you with us?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer, I am.
Thank you.
My name, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Michelle Van Etten. I'm a Code Inspector with the City of Tempe Code Compliance Division. I'm here this evening to ask you to request a 180-day open abatement for the property located at 530 West 19th Street, Tempe, Arizona 85281. I initiated this case on 10/22/2021 when I observed a vehicle in the driveway at that residence. It had flat tires and it showed expired registration. I noticed that violation, and therefore I mailed a notice of correction to the owner of the vehicle, who is also the owner of that residence, Nathaniel Gonzalez Moses. On 11/15/2021, I re-inspected the property, and I noticed the vehicle is in the same condition. The tires were still flat, and the didn't appear to have been moved, and the registration was still showing expired. So I sent out a second and final notice. On 11/29/2021, I re-inspected the property. Again, the status of the vehicle had not changed. In an attempt to gain compliance, I placed a pink placard on the door asking that the owner either correct the violations or contact me to discuss the violations on or before 12/1/2021. On 12/1/2021, I still had not heard from the owner, so at that time I issued a citation. Before doing so, I verified that the registration had expired in October of 2017, and a copy of the citation was mailed to the owner. A couple days later, on 12/3/2021, I did receive a phone call from Mr. Moses. He had asked if it was too late to clear the matter up and not get a citation. I told him that I had already mailed out the citation, so that citation would stand, but I encouraged him to still take care of the issue because there could be secondary citations and or an abatement. He said that he was going to look into the possibility of donating the vehicle. As of January 24th, 2022, I verified that that citation had not been contested, nor was the citation paid. So at that time, I started the abatement process. I verified that the matter was in collections through the courts, and I posted a notice of intent to abate at the property and mailed the property and vehicle owner copies. So if I may now, Madam Hearing Officer, I have a few photos to show you.
Yes, please.
So, Madam Hearing Officer, this is just a photo of the front of the residence. You see that the vehicle is at the far left there. It is obviously visible from the street, so anyone that passes it and everyone in the neighborhood sees the vehicle. The next picture, please. That is it's kind of a poor angle because of the trash receptacle that was in front of it, but that's just a copy or a picture of the license plate, and it reflects the expired October 2017 registration. Next photo, please. This is the left rear tire. It's clearly flat, indicating that the vehicle hadn't been moved in quite some time. Next photo. This is the front left tire. You see there's cobwebs and debris around it, clearly indicating that the vehicle had not been moved in quite some time. It's also flat. Next photo. And that's just the right side of the vehicle, the passenger side of the vehicle. Both the front and rear tires are completely flat, and it had not appeared that the vehicle had been moved in some time.
Sure.
So as stated before, Madam Hearing Officer, I'm seeking an open 100-day abatement for unregistered inoperable vehicle at the 530 West 19th Street location.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yoakum, do we have any individuals on the line wanting to speak about this agenda item, either members of the public or the property owner?
No, Madam Hearing Officer. We've not received any communication at this time.
Okay, thank you. Well, Ms. Van Etten, I certainly agree with your assessment of the situation. This is a vehicle that's been out of registration now for over 4 years, which is amazing in and of itself. Clearly hasn't been moved. As I read earlier in the preamble, one of the things that we do abate here in the city of Tempe is unregistered and inoperable vehicles, which this has all evidence as being inoperable. So I am going to go ahead and approve your 180-day open abatement request contained in application CE 216602. Thank you very much. Thank you for the photos. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer.
That brings us to the next item on our agenda this afternoon. This is agenda item number 3. This is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Schultz property. This property is located at 1418 West 16th Street. The applicant is the City of Tempe, represented this afternoon by Inspector, I believe, Julie Schofield. Ms. Schofield, are you with us?
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Officer. Julie Schofield, Code Inspector with the City of Tempe. I'm here today to ask for a 180-day open abatement for the property located at 1418 West 6th Street, which is here in Tempe, 85281. This case has been open since June 21st of 21, and it was initiated by an inspector that's no longer with us, and she started this case on June 24th, 21. She went to the property and found that there was deteriorated landscaping, junk and debris, and she mailed the first notice at that time. She went back to the property on 7/22 of 21, and nothing had been done, and she had sent a final notice. Well, she then left the city, and I took over this case August 5th, 2021, and I went ahead and I kind of started over with my own notices. But when I went to the property, I did find that there was junk, trash, and debris in the front and backyard. There was issues with the landscaping and also broken windows at the time. I went back to the property in September of 21 and mailed a final notice for the violation for junk, trash, and debris, windows, and the landscaping. I have since then received 3 complaints regarding this property for junk, trash, and debris. I've also had some contact with the owner's mother, who has asked for more time, and so that was requested, and it was granted in October of 21. I did end up issuing a citation on December 16th of 21, and the citation was paid. However, the violations were not corrected. Excuse me. I turned in the paperwork January 25th of 2022 for the abatement for the junk and debris in the front and backyard. And on February 23rd, CARE 7 did bring over some volunteers to the property, and they cleaned up the property in the front and backyard. However, there was still a lot of items that are still there. And if you look at my pictures, you'll see the items that were still left there. Pictures, please. So this is a picture of one section of the backyard, and you can see that there's still some items along the house. The outdoor garden tools and whatnot are okay, but there's piles and with buckets, and I'm not really sure in some of those pictures what it is, but next picture, please. Here's a pile of some sort of debris, and then you can see a cooler and looks like window things in the back. Not sure what's underneath that tarp, but we would certainly find out if approved. Next picture, please. Here's a shopping cart, some random items behind it in the backyard as well on the west side of the property. Next picture, please. This is the carport of the property. As you can see, there's a fabric chair being stored there as well as other items. Next picture, please. And here's a further picture so you could see more of the items in the background. You can see furniture, some random items being stored there. Next picture, and I believe it's the last picture. Yes, and so you can see there's some appliances as well as, like I said, some miscellaneous furniture and random items that we would be clearing out if the abatement is approved. And so, like I was saying, I would like to request a 180-day open abatement for the cleanup of junk and debris in the front and backyard, if approved.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yoakum, do you have anyone on the line wanting to speak about this matter, either the property owner or other member of the public?
One second, Madam Hearing Officer.
Thank you.
Yes, it looks like we do have one caller. 1 second while we bring them in.
Thank you. Caller, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. First thing that we need for you to do is state your name and address for the public record for this hearing.
Okay, excuse me, my name is Lynn Schultz. I reside at 9427 East Navajo Place in Sun Lakes. The house at 1418 West 6th Street is our property. My son, who's disabled, and at one point there were numerous people staying there because we opened the home, you know, to people who needed shelter. And unfortunately, they took advantage of the situation when my son was in the hospital for numerous months with MRSA. He had 2 back surgeries, 2 ankle surgeries, and then he was sent to a care center for a few months. And during that time period, I was actually physically out of state myself, and it just went awry. I mean, just I was disgusted when I got back to see all the stuff. I too have photos. I emailed Julie and Drew. I believe there's 14 pictures, the last 4 being how the property looks now after it's been worked on. And, you know, obviously if there's anything else that needs to be brought to our attention, we will take care of it. The people who created the mess are no longer in the house. They're no longer allowed back on the property. And we have one other person in the house who I am currently trying to get out of the house. And once that happens, we have no more issues at all, period.
Okay. Mr. Yoakum, do you have those photographs available? Do they differ significantly from the photographs that I was shown by Ms. Schofield?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer, we do have the photos, but I think Julie Schofield's photos accurately reflect what was seen today.
Okay, yeah, it was my memory from her putting the photos up that they were dated this morning. So, Ms. Schultz, I believe I have a good understanding of what the property looks like today in its most recent state. It's always helpful to me because I get pictures in my packet, you know, sometimes a week in advance, but then the inspectors always go out and get what I call the latest and greatest state of the property that I can evaluate for myself.
Okay.
So I don't know if you were on the entire hearing when I read the preamble into this hearing and I explained the statement. Okay, so you heard me say 2 things. First of all, that the code inspectors bring a case like this before me typically after numerous attempts at bringing the property into compliance voluntarily. In this case, the communications go back to June with the previous code inspector, and then Ms. Schofield took over. So there's been a substantial amount of time that's passed from the first notification to today. You know, here we are, March 1st. So I think preferably it would have been voluntary compliance with the code. And then you also heard me say that today, if I approve this abatement, you still have 2 weeks within which you can bring the property into compliance, and you would work with Mrs. Schofield, and she could give you an indication of what items are okay to store on the property and what is not allowable. And so within that time period, if you get everything taken care of, then the abatement simply goes away. The city of Tempe doesn't take any action. If after that 2-week window, there are still issues, that's when the city will come in and they'll dispose of those items for you. So it's kind of a collaborative process. You know, the city wants to ensure that the property gets cleaned up in a timely manner. And if you're having trouble getting assistance with the disposal of some items, it can be helpful to you to just allow the city of Tempe to take care of it on your behalf. So I am inclined this afternoon, based on the evidence that I saw today from the photographs dated this morning, that the property does meet the standard for abatement, you know, and that is the unsightly display of, you know, junk and refuse and storage of items on the property. But with the approval of this abatement today, like I just said, you'll still have an additional 2 weeks to take care of the matter on your own. So,
Okay, I agree with that. My nephew and his fiance reside in the home, and they, along with, I guess there was some kind of volunteer group or something, were working diligently to correct the matter. Unfortunately, they weren't there the whole time that you know, things were going back and forth, and between myself and Julie. And I'm disabled, my son is disabled, and the people who owned the stuff, the junk that they brought into the yard, had either already vacated the premises or, you know, just didn't care. And, you know, I understand it's my property. I understand it's my responsibility. There were times where I didn't know that a notice was served, you know, left, because there was no communication from the address to me. And some of my windows were broken by Tempe police, and I guess that happened in December, but nobody ever formally notified me until Julie mentioned that a window that previously was broken a second time. And so I went out and noticed that, oh my gosh, we have 2 broken windows. What the heck, you know? And yeah, and then the last couple that I got rid of, about 2 or 3 nights ago, got into a verbal altercation with each other, and she picked up a vase and threw it at him. It missed him, but broke the living room window. It's like, good golly, Miss Molly, you know. So I have a call into Arizona, or well, it's a windows and doors place. I'm sorry, I don't remember if it's Phoenix or Arizona, but they're going to come out tomorrow and give the estimate on the windows, and we'll get those taken care of. And you know, they are still working on clearing out the rest of the debris. The carport now has the car in the carport. A lot of that furniture that was mentioned is no longer there. There was a chair in there, that's true. My son, who's disabled, when he goes outside to smoke, would sit in that chair and, you know, smoke his cigarette. And, you know, there were other chairs there as well. And I, you know, told them, look, you need to get rid of these chairs, because this is not, you know, the local bar where everybody can come and hang out. So those are gone. Yeah. And, you know, I've been trying to cut down on the foot traffic and such Unfortunately, I'm in Virginia part of the year, and I'm here part of the year. And when I'm there, I can't physically go and tell them to get the F off my property.
Right.
But I have taken care of that now, and I have one more person, and he has until the 24th. I gave him 30 days to get his stuff and vacate the premises. And then after that, there will be no more, opening our home to help people, because unfortunately I've learned the hard way that I have good intentions, but they don't. They don't
Right.
care about the property. They don't care about me. They just are glad they're off the street, but they don't show it, so anyway.
So, well, it sounds like you could really benefit from this abatement process, and that's kind of why the city has this process in place, because we know we have residents who, for a variety of circumstances, are unable to care for their properties, either for their own physical reasons or distance if they're out of state, like as you are. So I think you'll benefit from this process. And I hope you find it helpful to you. I know your neighbors, we've gotten some complaints.
I realize that too.
Yeah.
And, it just breaks my heart, that it came to that, because that home has been in the family since 1989, I want to say. And, when we bought it from, the estate of the parents, we had no intention on this happening at all,
Sure.
and you feel sorry for people. You just want to help them, and, that's never again.
Yeah, well,
But,
these things happen, and that's why we've had these processes available to us. So
right. Now,
this is a forward-looking process. We don't look back as to, the who, what, why. We take a literal snapshot as of today. I evaluate it moving forward. Julie will be pleased to work with you throughout the next couple of weeks to ensure that you can take care of what you can, and then the city will do the rest. So, Mr. Yoakum, are there any other members of the public wanting to speak on this agenda item?
No, Madam Hearing Officer, there are no other members of the public ready to speak today.
Thank you. Well then, Ms. Schultz, I wish you good luck over the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to go ahead and approve the abatement contained in complaint CE 213846. And as I mentioned, the city will work with you over the next couple of weeks to ensure that it's a smooth abatement process and assist you in getting the property cleaned up. So thank you and good luck to you. Mr. Yoakum, I think that concludes our agenda this afternoon. Does staff have any announcements?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer, just one. The next hearing officer meeting will be scheduled for March 15th. That will be at 5 p.m. and the meeting will be held in the City of Tempe Council Chambers, as well as held live on Tempe 11.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your help, Cassidy. Thank you for your assistance, Drew. That concludes our agenda this evening, so I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Good night.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer.